07 Vayetze went out. Vayetze went out. Parashah 7, Torah Bereshit Genesis 28:10-32-3, Haftarah Hosea, 12:13, 12, 14:10, 9, Hadashah Yochanan, John, 1:43-51, Torah Bereshit Genesis 28:10-32-3, 28:10 Yaakov went out from Beersheba and traveled toward Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed a night there, because the sun had set. He took a stone from the place, put it under his head and lay down there to sleep. He dreamt that there before him was a ladder resting on the ground with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of Adonai were going up and down on it. Then suddenly Adonai was standing there next to him, and he said, I am Adonai, the God of Abraham your grandfather and the God of Yitzchak. The land on which you are lying I will give to you and to your descendants. Your descendant will be as numerous as the grains of dust on the earth. You will expand to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. By you and your descendants all the families of the earth will be blessed. Look, I am with you. I will guard you wherever you go, and I will bring you back into this land, because I won't leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Yaakov awoke from his sleep and said, Truly, Adonai is in this place and I didn't know it. Then he became afraid and said, This place is fearsome, this is to be the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Yaakov got up early in the morning, took the stone he had put under his head, set it up as a standing stone, poured olive oil on its top and named the place Bethel, house of God. But the town had originally been called Luz. Yaakov took this vow, if God will be with me and will guard me on this road that I am traveling, giving me bread to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return to my father's house in peace. Then Adonai will be my God, and this stone, which I have set up as a standing stone, will be God's house, and of everything you give me, I will faithfully return 1/10 to you. 29:1 Continuing his journey, Yaakov came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in a field, and there were 3 flocks of sheep lying there next to it, because they watered the sheep from that well. The stone on the well's mouth was large, and only when all the flocks had gathered there would they roll the stone away from the opening of the well and water the sheep. Then they would put the stone back in its place on the well's opening. Yaakov said to them, My brothers, where are you from? They answered, We are from Haran. He asked them, Do you know Laban the grandson of Nahor? They said, We do. He asked them, Are things going well with him? Yes, they answered, and here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep. He said, Look, there's still plenty of daylight left, and it isn't time to bring the animals home, so water the sheep. Then go, and put them out to pasture. They answered, We can't, not until all the flocks who have been gathered together, and they roll the stone away from the opening of the well. That's when we water the sheep. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, because she took care of them. When Yaakov saw Rachel the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, Yaakov went up and rolled the stone away from the opening of the well and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. Yaakov kissed Rachel and wept aloud. Yaakov told Rachel that he was her father's relative, and that he was Rivka's son, and she ran and told her father. When Laban heard the news of Yaakov his sister's son, he ran to meet him, hugged him and kissed him, and brought him to his house. Yaakov told Laban all that had happened. Laban said to him, You are indeed my own flesh and blood. After Yaakov had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him, Why should you work for me for nothing, just because you are my relative? Tell me how much I should pay you. Now Laban had 2 daughters, the name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was good-looking, with beautiful features. Yaakov had fallen in love with Rachel and said, I will work for you 7 years in exchange for Rachel your younger daughter. Laban answered, Better that I give her to you than to someone else. Stay with me. So Yaakov worked 7 years for Rachel, and it seemed only a few days to him, because he was so much in love with her. Yaakov said to Laban, Give me my wife, since my time is finished, so that I can start living with her. Laban gathered all the men of the place and gave a banquet. In the evening he took Leah his daughter and brought her to Yaakov, and he went in and slept with her. Laban also gave his slave girl Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her slave girl. In the morning Yaakov saw that he was with Leah, and he said to Laban, What kind of thing is this that you've done to me? Didn't I work for you for Rachel? Why have you deceived me? Laban answered, In our place that isn't how it's done, to give the younger daughter before the firstborn. Finish the marriage week of this one, and we'll give you the other one also in exchange for the work you will do for me during yet another 7 years. Yaakov agreed to this, so he finished a week. and Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban also gave to his daughter Rachel his slave girl Bilhah as her slave girl. So not only did Yaakov go in and sleep with Rachel, but he also loved Rachel more than Leah. Then he served Laban another 7 years. Adonai saw that Leah was unloved, so he made her fertile, while Rachel remained childless. Leah conceived and gave birth to a son, whom she named Reuben, a son, for she said, "It is because Adonai has seen how humiliated I have been, but now my husband will love me." She conceived again, gave birth to a son and said, "It is because Adonai has heard that I am unloved, therefore, he has given me this son also." So she named him Shimon, hearing. Once more she conceived and had a son, and she said, "Now this time my husband will be joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore, she named him Levi, joining. She conceived yet again, had a son and said, "This time I will praise Adonai." Therefore, she named him Yehudah, Judah, praise. Then she stopped having children. 31 When Rachel saw that she was not bearing children for Yaakov, she envied her sister and said to Yaakov, "Give me children, or I will die." This made Yaakov angry at Rachel. He answered, "Am I in God's place? He's the one who is denying you children." She said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Go, sleep with her, and let her give birth to a child that will be laid on my knees, so that through her I too can build a family." So she gave him Bilhah her slave girl as his wife, and Yaakov went in and slept with her. Bilhah conceived and bore Yaakov a son. Rachel said, "God has judged in my favor. Indeed, he has heard me and given me a son." Therefore, she called him Dan. He judged. Bilhah Rachel's slave girl conceived again and bore Yaakov a second son. Rachel said, "I have wrestled mightily with my sister in one," and called him Naphtali, my wrestling. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took Zilpah her slave girl and gave her to Yaakov as his wife. Zilpah Leah's slave girl bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, "Good fortune has come," calling him Gad, good fortune. Zilpah Leah's slave girl bore Yaakov a second son, and Leah said, "How happy I am, women will say I am happy," and called him Esher, happy. During the wheat harvest season Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes, so that I can be fertile." She answered, "Isn't it enough that you have taken away my husband? Do you have to take my son's mandrakes too?" Rachel said, "Very well, in exchange for your son's mandrakes, sleep with him tonight." When Yaakov came in from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You have to come and sleep with me, because I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So Yaakov slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov a 5th son. Leah said, "God has given me my hire, because I gave my slave girl to my husband." So she called him Yissachar, hire, reward. Leah conceived again and bore a 6th son to Yaakov. Leah said, "God has given me a wonderful gift. Now at last my husband will live with me, since I have borne him 6 sons." And she called him Zevulun, living together. After this, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Controversy over rights. Then God took note of Rachel, he did her prayer and made her fertile. She conceived, had a son and said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She called him Yosef, may he add, saying, "May Adonai add to me another son." After Rachel had given birth to Yosef, Yaakov said to Laban, "Send me on my way, so that I can return to my own place, to my own country. Let me take my wives, for whom I have served you, and my children, and let me go. You know very well how faithfully I have served you." Laban answered him, "If you regard me favorably, then please listen. I have observed the signs that Adonai has blessed me on account of you. Name your wages," he said, "I will pay them." Yaakov replied, "You know how faithfully I have served you and how your livestock have prospered under my care. The few you had before I came have increased substantially. Adonai has blessed you wherever I went. But now, when will I provide for my own household?" Laban said, "What should I give you?" "Nothing," answered Yaakov. "Just do this one thing for me once more. I will pasture your flock and take care of it. I will also go through the flock and pick out every speckled, spotted or brown sheep, and every speckled or spotted goat. These and their offspring will be my wages. And I will let my integrity stand as witness against me in the future when you come to look over the animals constituting my wages. Every goat that isn't speckled or spotted and every sheep that isn't brown will count as stolen by me." Laban replied, "As you have said, so be it." That day Laban removed the male goats that were streaked or spotted and all the female goats that were speckled or spotted, every one with white on it, and all the brown sheep. turned them over to his sons, and put 3 days' distance between himself and Yaakov. Yaakov fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Yaakov took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond and plane trees and made white streaks on them by peeling off the bark. Then he set the rods he had peeled upright in the watering troughs, so that the animals would see them when they came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, the animals mated in sight of the rods and gave birth to streaked, speckled and spotted young. Yaakov divided the lambs and had the animals mate with the streaked and the brown in the flock of Laban. He also kept his own livestock separate and did not have them mix with Laban's flock. Whenever the hardier animals came into heat, Yaakov would set up the rods in the watering troughs, so that the animals would see them and conceive in front of them. But he didn't set up the rods in front of the weaker animals, thus the more feeble were Laban's and the stronger Yaakov's. In this way the man became very rich and had large flocks, along with male and female slaves, camels and donkeys. 31:1 But then he heard what Laban's sons were saying. Yaakov has taken away everything that our father once had. It's from what used to belong to our father that he has gotten so rich. He also saw that Laban regarded him differently than before. Adonai said to Yaakov, "Return to the land of your ancestors, to your kinsmen, I will be with you." So Yaakov sent for Rachel and Leah and had them come to the field where his flock was. He said to them, "I see by the way your father looks that he feels differently toward me than before. But the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, and that your father has belittled me and has changed my wages 10 times. But God did not allow him to do me any damage. If he said, 'The speckled will be your wages,' then all the animals gave birth to speckled young. And if he said, 'The streaked will be your wages,' then all the animals gave birth to streaked young. This is how God has taken away your father's animals and given them to me. Once, when the animals were mating, I had a dream. I looked up and there in front of me the male goats which mated with the females were streaked, speckled and mottled. Then, in the dream, the angel of God said to me, 'Yaakov,' and I replied, 'Here I am.' He continued, 'Raise your eyes now, and look, all the male goats mating with the females are streaked, speckled and mottled, for I have seen everything Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a standing stone with oil, where you vowed your vow to me. Now get up, get out of this land, and return to the land where you were born.' Rachel and Leah answered him, 'We no longer have any inheritance from our father's possessions, and he considers us foreigners, since he has sold us. Moreover, he has consumed everything he received in exchange for us. Nevertheless, the wealth which God has taken away from our father has become ours and our children's anyway. So whatever God has told you to do, do.' Then Yaakov got up, put his sons and wives on the camels, and carried off all his livestock, along with all the riches he had accumulated, the livestock in his possession which he had acquired in Paddan Aram, to go to Yitzchak his father in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, so Rachel stole the household idols that belonged to her father, and Yaakov outwitted Laban the Aramean by not telling him of his intended flight. So he fled with everything he had. He departed, crossed the Euphrates River and set out for the hill country of Gilead. Not until the 3rd day was Laban told that Yaakov had fled. Laban took his kinsman with him and spent the next 7 days pursuing Yaakov, overtaking him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream that night and said to him, 'Be careful that you don't say anything to Yaakov, either good or bad.' When Laban caught up with Yaakov, Yaakov had set up camp in the hill country, so Laban and his kinsman set up camp in the hill country of Gilead. Laban said to Yaakov, 'What do you mean by deceiving me and carrying off my daughters as if they were captives taken in war? Why did you flee in secret and deceive me and not tell me? I would have sent you off with joy and singing to the music of tambourines and lyres. You didn't even let me kiss my sons and daughters goodbye. What a stupid thing to do. I have it in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night and said, "Be careful that you don't say anything to Yaakov, either good or bad." Granted that you had to leave, because you longed so deeply for your father's house, but why did you steal my gods? Yaakov answered Laban, "Because I was afraid. I said, suppose you take your daughters away from me by force, but if you find your gods with someone, that person will not remain alive. So with our kinsman to witness, if you spot anything that I have which belongs to you, take it back." Yaakov did not know that Rachel had stolen them. Laban went into Yaakov's tent, then into Leah's tent and into the tent of the 2 slave girls, but he did not find them. He left Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household gods, put them in the saddle of the camel and was sitting on them. Laban felt all around the tent but did not find them. She said to her father, "Please don't be angry that I'm not getting up in your presence, but it's the time of my period." So he searched, but he didn't find the household gods. Then Yaakov became angry and started arguing with Laban. "What have I done wrong?" he demanded. "What is my offense, that you have come after me in hot pursuit? You have felt around in all my stuff, but what have you found of all your household goods? Put it here, in front of my kinsmen and yours, so that they can render judgment between the two of us. I have been with you for these 20 years, your female sheep and goats haven't aborted their young, and I haven't eaten the male animals in your flocks. If one of your flock was destroyed by a wild animal, I didn't bring the carcass to you but bore the loss myself. You demanded that I compensate you for any animal stolen, whether by day or by night. Here's how it was for me: during the day thirst consumed me, and at night the cold my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I've been in your house I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the one whom Yitzchak fears, had not been on my side, by now you would certainly have already sent me away with nothing. God has seen how distressed I've been and how hard I've worked, and last night he passed judgment in my favor." Laban answered Yaakov, "The daughters are mine, the children are mine, the flocks are mine, and everything you see is mine. But what can I do today about these daughters of mine or the children they have borne? So now, come, let's make a covenant, I and you, and let it stand as a testimony between me and you." Yaakov took a stone and set it upright as a standing stone. Then Yaakov said to his kinsmen, "Gather some stones," and they took stones, made a pile of them and ate there by the pile of stones. Laban called it Wagasahadutah, pile of witness in Aramaic, while Yaakov called it Galed, pile of witness in Hebrew. Laban said, "This pile witness is between me and you today. This is why it is called Galed and also Hamatzpah, the watchtower, because he said, May Adonai watch between me and you when we are apart from each other. If you cause pain to my daughters, or if you take wives in addition to my daughters, then, even if no one is there with us, still God is witness between me and you." Laban also said to Yaakov, "Here is this pile, and here is this standing stone, which I have set up between me and you. May this pile be a witness, and may the standing stone be a witness, that I will not pass beyond this pile to you, and you will not pass beyond this pile and this standing stone to me, to cause harm. May the God of Abraham and also the God of Nachor, the God of their father, judge between us." But Yaakov swore by the one his father Yitzchak feared. Yaakov offered a sacrifice on the mountain and invited his kinsmen to the meal. They ate the food and spent the whole night on the mountain. Mafti, 32:1 Early in the morning Laban got up, kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban left and returned to his own place. Yaakov went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Yaakov saw them, he said, "This is God's camp," and called that place Machanaim, 2 camps. Haftarah Hoshea, Hosea, 12:13, 12, 14:10, 9, 12:13. Yaakov fled to the land of Aram. There Israel slaved to win a wife. For a wife he tended sheep. By a prophet Adonai brought Israel up from Egypt, and by a prophet he was protected. Ephraim has given bitter provocation. So the penalty for his bloodshed will be thrown down on him, and his Lord will repay him for his insult. 13:1. When Ephraim spoke, there was trembling. He was a power in Israel. But when he incurred guilt through Baal, he died. So now they keep adding sin to sin, casting images from their silver, idols they invent for themselves, all of them the work of craftsmen. Sacrifice to them, they say. Men give kisses to calves, therefore they will be like a morning cloud, like a dew that disappears early, like chaff blown by wind from the threshing floor, or like smoke that goes out the window. Still, I am Adonai your God, from the land of Egypt, and you don't know any God but me, or, other than me, any Savior. I knew you in the desert, in a land of terrible drought. When they were fed, they were satisfied. When satisfied, they became proud. Therefore they forgot me. So now I have become like a lion to them. Like a leopard I will lurk by the road. I will meet them like a bear, whose cubs have been taken away. I will tear their hearts from their bodies. I will devour them there like a lion, like a wild animal ripping them up. It is your destruction, Israel, although your help is in me. So now, where is your king, to save you in all your cities? Where are your judges, of whom you said, Give me a king and leaders? I gave you a king in my anger, and in my fury I took him away. Ephraim's guilt has been wrapped up. his sin is stored away. The pain of being born will come to him, but he is an unwise son. The time has come, and he shouldn't delay. They're at the mouth of the womb. Should I ransom them from the power of Sheol? Should I redeem them from death? Where are your plagues, death? Where is your destruction, Sheol? My eyes are closed to compassion, for though he flourishes among the reeds, an east wind will come, a wind from Adonai, blowing up from the desert. Then his water source will dry up. Then his spring will fail. It will plunder his treasury, removing every precious thing. Come 14:1 Shomron will bear her guilt, for she has rebelled against her God. They will fall by the sword. Their little ones will be dashed to pieces, and their pregnant women ripped open. Return, Israel, to Adonai your God, for your guilt has made you stumble. Take words with you, and return to Adonai. Say to him, forgive all guilt, and accept what is good. We will pay instead of bulls, the offerings of our lips. Asher will not save us. We will not ride on horses, and we will no longer call what we made with our hands our gods. For it is only in you that the fatherless can find mercy. I will heal their disloyalty. I will love them freely, for my anger has turned from him. I will be like dew to Israel. He will blossom like a lily, and strike roots like the elvanon. His branches will spread out, his beauty be like an olive tree, and his fragrance like the elvanon. Again they will alive in his shade and raise grain. They will blossom like a vine, and its aroma will be like the wine of the elvanon. Ephraim will say, what have I to do any more with idols? And I answer and affirm him, I am like a fresh, green cypress tree, your fruitfulness comes from me. Let the wise understand these things, and let the discerning know them. For the ways of Adonai are straight, and the righteous walk in them, but in them sinners stumble. Berit Hadashah Yochanan, John, 1:43-51. 1:43 The next day, having decided to leave for the Galilee, Yeshua found Philip and said, follow me. Philip was from Bethsaida, the town where Andrew and Kepha lived. Philip found Nathanael and told him, we've found the one that Moshe wrote about in the Torah, also the prophets. It's Yeshua ben Yosef from Nazareth. Nathanael answered him, Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Come and see. Philip said to him. Yeshua saw Nathanael coming toward him and remarked about him, here is a true son of Israel, nothing false in him. Nathanael said to him, how do you know me? Yeshua answered him, before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael said, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Yeshua answered him, you believe all this just because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that. Then he said to him, yes indeed, I tell you that you will see heaven opened and the angels of God going up and coming down on the Son of Man.